Some nights don't ask questions, they only wait quietly, watching the world fall asleep, one heart at a time. Some memories come back, like they never left, softly pulling at the pieces you tried to let go. And in those moments, you don't need to be strong, you just need to be still. Welcome to Heartrest. Tonight, I want you to lie down, slowly. Let the air leave your chest in a sigh, and let whatever hurts fall gently to the side. This space is yours, just for now. A soft place to feel, to rest, to remember. Let your body grow heavy, let your breathing soften, and if you find yourself holding back tears, that's okay. There is no judgment here, only the sound of a quiet voice, a story, and a little time to simply be. In a quiet town, nestled between the sea and a forest, lived a man named Elias. He ran a small bookshop that hardly saw any customers, but he kept it open every day, from sunrise to sunset, as if waiting for someone to walk in, who never did. Elias wasn't old, but his heart was tired. He moved like someone remembering how to breathe. And though his eyes were kind, they carried a weight that never quite lifted. He had once been in love, a quiet kind of love, the sort where two people don't say much, but speak in the way they brew tea, the way they light candles before the rain comes, the way they sit next to each other in silence, and feel everything without needing words. Her name was Liora. She was soft and warm, like light through autumn leaves. She would visit his shop every evening, never to buy, only to browse, only to be near. They never said they loved each other, not in words, but everyone else saw it. The way she waited for him to lock up, the way he remembered how she liked her tea, without ever being told. And then, one day, she didn't come. No call, no letter, no reason. She simply stopped arriving, and the days went on without her. Elias kept the shop open, still brewed tea for two, still lit both candles, still waited. People whispered. They said she had moved, or married, or perhaps just forgotten. But Elias didn't listen. He knew love didn't end just because someone left. One autumn evening, the kind with golden skies and a chill in the wind, she had come in just before closing. Her coat was damped, her cheeks flushed from the walk. She picked up a book about constellations, ran her fingers down the spine, and said, "Do you think stars remember who used to watch them?" Elias looked up from his tea, paused, and said, "I think they remember everything." She smiled then. That kind of smile that says, "I needed to hear that." She lingered longer than usual that night, flipping through pages, telling him how, as a child, she used to name the stars out loud so they wouldn't feel lonely. Elias listened, not with words, but with presence. And when she left, she said, "Good night, Starkeeper." That was the last night they truly spoke. You're still here. I'm glad you stayed. This story, maybe it reminded you of someone who left quietly without giving you a reason or a goodbye. Maybe you still set the table for two, even when you dine alone. Maybe there is a song you skip because it still holds their name. That's okay. You don't have to let go tonight. You don't have to forgive or forget or even move on. But maybe, just maybe, you can rest right here with me. You are not alone in your remembering, and you are not foolish for still feeling. Tell me, what memory do you carry with you when the world goes quiet? Would you share it in the comments? Someone out there might need to hear it too. Years passed. Elias grew older, but never stopped lighting the second candle. He never closed the shop, never moved the chair where she used to sit. Some say he was waiting for her. Others say he was healing in his own way. But he would tell you, If you asked, that he wasn't waiting, he was remembering. Because love, real love, doesn't ask to be healed. It asks to be honored. And so he honored her. In every cup of tea, in every book he restacked, in every sunset, he watched from the window. There was a winter night when the power went out in the entire town. No lights, no sounds, just snow falling, like whispers. Elias had closed early, but she knocked at the door. She said she just didn't want to sit in the dark, alone. They sat by candlelight, drinking cinnamon tea, wrapped in shared silence. Liora told him then that sometimes she was afraid that the world would forget her name, or that her stories wouldn't be worth telling. Elias stood, reached for the old radio, and wound it manually until a quiet jazz melody played. He said, "Even silence carries your voice, Liora. Even shadows know your name." And she cried, not loudly, just enough to fog her glasses, before she smiled and whispered, "Thank you." Every year, when winter came, Elias would light the same candle, brew the same cinnamon tea, and sit in the dark for a while, just listening. To memory, to what still lingered. In the early days, before the shop, Elias had written poems. He never showed them to anyone, not even Liora. But once, she found a folded paper on the counter. It simply said, "You are the pause between the chaos, the stillness I never asked for, but found myself longing for." She never asked if he wrote it. He never admitted it, but something changed after that. The silence between them grew warmer. Later that same week, she brought a blank notebook, laid it gently on the counter, and said, "For the poems you haven't written yet." He kept that notebook, still blank, still sacred. The poem was still tucked in the drawer beneath the register. Years faded the ink, but not the meaning, because some things, even quiet things, have voices that never age. There was a night in spring when Liora brought with her a paper lantern. She asked Elias to walk with her down to the beach. Together they stood by the tide, feet barely brushing the cold foam, and she lit the lantern, whispering a name, softly, before letting it rise. Elias didn't ask who the name belonged to. He just held her hand and watched the light disappear into the stars. Elias returned to that beach every spring since, lighting his own lantern, writing no name because he didn't need to. The sky always knew. There was a rainy evening, the shop roof had begun to leak, and buckets lined the shelves. Liora brought a basket of fresh lavender, and they spent hours moving books, finding joy in the small chaos. At one point, she stood by the window, and with rain falling behind her, said, "You know, sometimes I think love is just knowing where someone would sit, even when they're not there." Elias had never heard a truer thing. The windows still leaked, the same spot every spring. And every year, Elias left a small lavender bundle there, right where she had stood. One spring morning, the town held its yearly market, with flowers spilling over baskets and wind chimes singing from every stall. Liora and Elias had wandered between the booths, not touching, but moving like two parts of the same thought. She bought a candle, scented with rain and thyme, and said, "For the next stormy night." He still had that candle, unlit, wrapped in her handwriting, that simply read, "For us. Before we close tonight, can I ask you something? Have you ever held on to something, not because you hoped they'd return, but because letting go felt like erasing proof that they were ever there? If so, you're not alone. Would you share that one thing, that object, that place, that smell, that still brings them back to you? It might be a letter, a song, a coffee mug, or a street light. Let me know in the comments. Someone who reads it might feel a little less alone too. Thank you for spending this time here at Heart. Let this be your permission to grieve slowly, to feel without shame, to rest without letting go of what mattered. Sleep soft, dream gently, and if you wake in the night, may you feel the quiet arms of this story still holding you good night.